Call 311 for the latest information.
This time check is brought to you by Massey Stores Home, your way to a beautiful home in the Gablewood Shopping Mall.
Good night, everyone out there in TV land, and welcome to another episode of Police Insight, live on Choice Television. I'm your host, Sergeant. You know what I was about to say, guys? I was about to say acting inspector. Because for a couple of Tuesdays now, that was my rank. Well, I've reverted back to the substantive rank of sergeant now that my inspector has returned from vacation. So I'd like to say good night to Inspector Foster Chico. Welcome back, sir. Can't wait for us to get back into the work and things. So good night to everyone. This is where you tell a friend to tell a friend that Police Insight is on. I'd like to say good night to the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Milton Daisy. Good night to our deputies, Mr. O'Brien, Mr. Shalry. Good night to our ACPs, all Gazette officers. Good night to you. Inspectors, sergeants, corporals, constables, both senior and junior. Special police constables, good night to you. Special reserve officers, good night to you. I'd like to say good night to our ex-police officers, those of you who have moved on, hopefully to better things. Good night to you all, and thank you for your service. City Police, good night to you. Our brothers and sisters in law enforcement, St. Lucia Fire Service, I know you guys are really going for a lot these days. Good night to you. Bodley Correctional Facility, you have your challenges. Customs, St. Lucia Ports Police, good night to you. Good night to you all, and especially security officers around the island doing what you can to safeguard properties and life. Well, wow, where do we start? There's a lot to talk about tonight, but we also have a very special guest tonight, and eventually I will come to introducing him. But before we do that, we have some birthday greetings. Yes, we have some birthday greetings. So first of all, we'll start off with Miss Shirley-Ann Bruno. Miss Shirley-Ann Bruno, who's celebrating her birthday sometime this week. So I'd like to say, as a matter of fact, it's tomorrow. Yes, so I'd like to say good night to you, Shirley-Ann, from Rivermead or Moshi. I know you're going to have a blast, my dear. So good night to you and happy birthday. Also celebrating their birthday this week is Andrea Hippolyte. Andrea Hippolyte from Bogies, who's currently in the U.S. I hope you're tuned in. So I'd like to say happy birthday to you, Andrea. I wish you all the best. And you know how Scorpios roll. You know how we do it. Also, Martina Hippolyte. Also from Bogies, but currently abroad. I'd like to say happy birthday to you, Martina. Wishing you all the best. Enjoy it like a rock star, my dear. And last but not least, I'd like to say happy birthday to Mr. Martin James, Sergeant Martin James of the Royal National Police Force. I hope you enjoyed, my brother, and also I'm waiting for that invitation. So I'd like to say happy birthday to you. Yours truly, I celebrated my birthday just this past weekend. So I know how it is with Scorpios. So good night to all you Scorpios. And those of you who are watching who are currently celebrating their birthdays this week or anytime soon in November, I'd like to say good night to you all. People, a lot has happened. I would like to bring attention to a post by the Royal Central Police Force, and this was posted just yesterday, where on Monday, November 8th, 2021, Commissioner of Police Milton Daisy, Mayor of Viewfort, His Lordship Cyril Saltibus, Superintendent of Police with responsibility for Southern Division Elvis Thomas, and other members of the Commissioner's office visited the residents and businesses of Viewfort area affected by the recent upsurge in gun violence. During the visit, talks were held with key stakeholders to chart a sustainable policing strategy to quell the crime situation. An increased police presence has now been maintained in key areas, as well as areas which may be impacted by a police possible shift of individuals. Members of the public can be assured that all efforts will be made to ensure the longevity of these plans. The safety of residents and the public at large is paramount to the organization, and all resources necessary to restore will be utilized. So that was a post here from the Royal St. Lucia Police Force and people. We all know what has been happening, the craziness, the madness, I'd like to call it, where individuals have brazenly decided to discharge firearms. Persons are losing their lives. Persons getting injured, and we recently had a homicide in Balata. So it's definitely a concern for the organization, a concern for all those who just wish to see peace reign in St. Lucia. And we cannot do it without you. I know it sounds like a broken record. It sounds like a broken record, but we cannot do it without the help of the citizenry. We the police, and we are calling for peace and calm, and for people involved in such activities to find other ways, other means to settle their differences. So I know there are lots of, that's a whole other show. There's lots of factors and different reasons why people turn to deviant behavior, but we need to do something about it. And I know my organization is definitely looking into it as much as we can. Before I introduce my guests quickly, the usual. Ivy Mitchell, good night to you. Angela Lubin, those of you locked in the Facebook chat. Rosella Alexander Monrose. Victor C. Anthony, as usual, all the way from New York. Rosella, yes, I called that name already. Yes, I did. Who else? Forbidden Wham. Sabina Charles, good night to you. Melody Martelli, good night to you. Jan Blaswana, how you doing, my dear? Good night. Who else we got there? Empress Bobo Jabatis, blessed love. Sherry Severin, good night to you all. Thank you for supporting the show. So at this point in time, without further ado, I shall introduce my guest for the evening. And it is no other than the officer in charge, the commander at the Marine Unit, Police Marine Unit, and that is Inspector Kentry Frederick. I'd like to say good night to you, sir. Welcome to Police Insight. Good night, and thank you for having me. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good.
How was the day?
Pretty long, but
it's
that way sometimes, so I'm doing good.
Okay, we're going to have an interesting discussion tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Most times when we hear policing, our colleagues, brothers and sisters in the criminal investigations department are usually given the spotlight when it comes to crime fighting. But I could tell you, we're like a well-oiled machine. We have different moving parts. And the Marine Unit plays a very, very vital role in the fight against crime, which you will learn about in case you didn't know. So, Mr. Inspector Frederick, could you please tell St. Lucia a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Good evening, St. Lucia. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. I try to remain as simple as possible. But I've been a police officer for 31 and a half years.
31 and a half, that's a lot.
Yes. And I have been solely in the unit for about 31 of those years. What I specialize in is navigation. And if you would recall, from 1990 thereabout, we had the loan service personnel, which were the people from the United Kingdom. Mm-hmm. So I have seen practically 3 foreign commanders. Then we went back to local persons handling the business of the country, which was Mr. Andre Cox, and then over to Commander Metil, mm-hmm. to our now Commissioner of Police, Mr. Milton Daisy, and then to Commander Preville, Commander Leos, and here I am. We've had persons in between holding on the fort, and as anything else, persons would go into retirement and all of that. So I've been around for a little while, and probably, if time permit, I may be able to say more about myself. But practically, I've been in there doing what I have to do, but I specialize in navigation and training. So in short, I can take you from not knowing anything about a boat, and at the end, I should be able to convert you into a captain of a boat. So that's what I do, and to handle it like a toy.
That's very interesting. And if all that experience, I have no doubt that you have such skills. So, when you look at the Police Marine Unit, can you give us a little bit about its history?
Okay, the history of the Marine Unit is a long one, which if we were to go into full, we might take 10 years here.
Oh,
but I will try to squeeze it into a small. Yeah. Right. We started with a small boat way in the 70s. And what we did was to try to maintain some kind of stability within the Castries Harbor. Then we went down to Marigot and Soufrière. And as the years went on and the country developed, we realized the need for greater maritime assets. So in 1985, thereabout, the unit, the government of St. Lucia, was handed over a vessel called Defender. Defender, yes. Which would be a common name.
Yes, common name. Famous.
So with the Defender, we had to receive training from the US, Canada, the British, and also within our partner nations, the RSS. And as the unit evolved over the years, we received training in both diesel mechanics, electronics, and the unit had to be set out in such a way that you have 5 main components of the unit. So we have evolved over the years to that, and we have many assets. Every asset have a name and a designated number. So not only that we have done that, but we've had challenges over the years. I think during the program, we should be able to go through, and then we have a better appreciation of where we've been and what we've been doing.
When you speak of the unit, can you educate us on some of the different posts within the unit, the key personnel of that unit? Because it's not like a station where there's the diarist and the custody individual. Can you tell us about those different personnel?
Okay, the unit is made up of 5 main components, 5 different departments. So when you are trained as a police officer, and then you are transferred to the unit after police training school, and sometimes you've gone out on probation, and after that we have an opportunity to vet you character-wise. We have an opportunity to see what you want to be. So it is an area where a unit where you must develop a skill. So everybody that comes within the doors of the unit develop a skill. In that we have logistics. So we have our own broker.
Interesting.
Yes, when we do have parts coming in and many other things related to the unit, we have somebody from within can do the brokerage works and all of that. We also have the admin and training department. These individuals will do all the paperwork and also prepare persons to travel overseas for training and all other stuff like that. We have the engineering department because we fix our own engines. No matter what size it is, we fix it.
You guys fix your own engines?
We fix our own engines.
Bring someone in? No, nothing like that?
Not at this time. Okay. We have a few persons of local origin that sometimes, depend on what it is they come, they may have a little more experience, and that would have happened over time if we have persons with a lot of experience going into retirement, but then we do most of our repairs. We have the electronics and the electrical department, which means we can change a switch, we can fix a radio, we can fix a radar. And then you have my department, which is the navigation. So the navigation aspect, we teach you how to handle the boat and how to travel. It doesn't matter the time of day from St. Lucia to Trinidad or St. Lucia to St. Croix, whatever time it is. So we have these 5 key departments within the unit. So what the commander of the unit is charged in doing is to oversee all those things together. And the person who comes in would, after 6 months, would have to determine what area that you go to.
That you go to.
Except if you have a specialty before you come in. So, for example, you may have gone to SAAFA or somewhere and have some experience in electrical, ACNR, or something of that sort. So we would monitor you. We give you the basic training, which everybody's supposed to know. Every single part of a boat, the front, the back, the side, the top, the bottom, they have separate names. So, for example, if you come to the unit and I ask somebody to remove the line from the bow, the ordinary man would say remove the boat from the front, remove the rope from the front.
Yes, yes.
But in maritime language, you now say remove the line, because once it have a use, it's no longer a rope, it's a line. And the front of the vessel is referred to as the bow. So the maritime language is slightly different. So to go to the kitchen, we would say to the galley.
Interesting.
And to go to the toilet, it's the head.
It's like a new
language.
School, new language.
Right. So when you come to the unit and we expose you to everything, but by 6 months into a year, you have to choose a trade and you stick to it. Hopefully you become trained and then you divert into that area. So that's in a nutshell what it is. But we can give some more details as we go along. Yes.
Okay. Very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. We're due for our very first break. Stay tuned to Police Insight.
Celebrate the season with a Christmas loan from the Royal St. Lucia Police and Allied Services Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Get up to $10,000 with no deposit necessary and quick 24 hours processing time. That's $10,000 just in time for the Christmas season. So ring in the holidays with a Christmas loan from the Royal St. Lucia Police and Allied Services Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Call or visit us today. Terms and conditions apply. Promotion ends December 31st, 2021.
The St. Lucia National Housing Corporation invites tenants, residential and commercial, to participate in the Castries Housing Estate and Darling Road Housing Estate, affectionately known as the CDC Rent Reprieve, a Government of St. Lucia initiative to bring relief to the people. Conditions for the reprieve. All tenants must pay October and November 2021 rent. No rent is payable in December 2021. Outstanding debt will be forgiven. New leases will be drawn up in January 2022. October and November 2021 rent must be paid at the NHC headquarters in the Morgan Building, Morris Mason Avenue and Lance Road, Sanssouci, no later than October 30th, 2021. Be sure to keep the stamped copy of your receipt. For further information, call the NHC at 452-3801 or email nhc@candw.lc.
Massey Stores Home is now open in the Boulevard with small and large appliances, furniture, electronics, bed and bath items, and much more. Plus, hire purchase, free delivery island-wide, and free installation is available. Shop for all the essentials for your home and earn points when you swipe your Massey card at Massey Stores Home on the Boulevard in Castries. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook to stay tuned to what's happening in store. See you soon!
Welcome back to Police Insight. Your host there, Sergeant Zachary Hippolyte. In studio with me is the commander of the Marine Unit, Police Marine Unit, PMU, and that is Inspector Kentry Frederick. If you've missed the first segment, you've missed some good stuff already. But we're going on with the interview where we learn more about, how important the Marine Unit is to, policing, law enforcement. And also later on, we'll be speaking about our fisher folk. Okay, so let us take some reaction, Inspector, just before we continue the interview. We have Christopher Michael saying good evening. We have someone say, hey, how you doing, Anita Pinker Paul Valsin? Mouthful. Good night to you. So proud of Mr. Frederick, very committed to the cause, and that's coming from a user called Nash Bridges. Who else we got there? Good night, Anika Joseph, Michael Joseph, Rosamond Brown, Andrea Joseph. Narcis Moise, good night to you, sir. So let's continue this excellent interview. Inspector, I must say I really love the first part where you spoke about the different departments and the Marine unit. Knowing is very important. Can you speak to some of the challenges that this unit faces in its execution of its duties?
Okay. The unit is quite versatile, and I think you asked a question during the break. I have to try to clarify how I spent 31 years doing all of that. But it went on just like 10 years, 5 years and gone.
Is that because you love what you do?
I'm committed to it.
Okay.
I'm committed to it. I think prior to coming to the unit, I worked in another department for 9 months. But I've always wanted challenges, something that I can put my hands on, something that I can feel, I can breathe, I can embrace. So when I joined the unit in 1990, actually 3 days before my birthday.
I was not yet a police officer. People, I was not yet a police officer. I was still in school.
So actually 3 days before my birthday, June 1990. And I spent 12 years in Castries. I went down to Vieux-Fort for 16 years. I came back up to Castries for 2.5 years. Went down to Vieux-Fort for a couple months, and I'm back at the top. The challenges we've had over the years have been many. And maybe in the terms, they would say too numerous to mention. However, one thing I must note that we don't have day, we don't have night. And we don't have hurricane season or camp season.
Interesting.
Right. So for persons who are in the world of navigation, engineering, every hurricane season, you have to make a commitment to choose your country or yourself. So which means if we are going to receive, get a violent hurricane or storm, we have to protect the government assets. So some persons would have to leave the country, live with the government asset, take into a foreign country. So which means your department would actually be responsible for checking on your family while you're gone. And I'm a father, I'm married, my parents and all of that. So I've always had persons within the department to call immediately after a hurricane, especially if we lost electricity and the line. So I have been doing that. But some of the challenges we've had in recent times is persons receiving the training, persons not understanding the role that they play. And sometimes it becomes difficult, and we have to make adjustment in terms of removing persons from the department, but also shifting persons from what you think you want to do vis-a-vis what we believe you can do. And also finance have always been an issue, but the government of St. Lucia, the government of the United States and the partner nations, they have done pretty well in keeping us. I think as we go further in the program, you would recognize that from 2013, after the Leahy Law was imposed, we remain self-sufficient. And that is what some persons in other partner nations find strange, that we were able to keep ourselves self-contained, self-sustained from 2013
because
up to now.
There was this perception that we are so heavily dependent on the U.S. for training and whatnot, especially when it comes to the unit.
Right.
So I could understand.
So yes, the role that the U.S. plays is very critical, and we have always been very much appreciative of that fact. But we've all been equal. The government of St. Lucia over the past few years, the past 7 to 8 years, have done remarkably well in keeping the unit together. Excellent. The good news is, despite the challenges, we have been able to bridge the gap. And thankfully, from the end of July this year, my little task in the unit, if I may say that way, is to reestablish the diplomatic ties at my level with the government of the U.S. military. So this is what we're doing. Actually, we have a team on island right now reviewing a lot of things. So we have a lot going on behind the scenes. So we would be receiving international training in all those key areas, and also RSS, which is the countries of the regional security system, to have persons get additional training, because the exposure to local training and international training, it is so different. And even with COVID, we have learned that we have to approach it differently. But manpower continues to remain an issue. The acquisition of newer, larger assets are also issues. But we try as much as possible to maintain and to conduct as much as we can.
Excellent. Inspector, if there is a, well, you said that manpower is an issue, so I'm sure, I was about to ask you if the unit needs anybody. How do I send my application? But if there's a police officer, a young officer watching right now, and they would be interested in being a part of the unit, what should they do?
We are presently looking at a recruitment drive, and we must, because of the nature of the work, we have to approach it from the ages of 18 to 25 and 27.
Okay.
The reason for that is being, if you have to take somebody with 10, 15 years of service, that individual at that juncture is looking at promotion, and coming across to the unit, you now become almost like a recruit. So it puts you at a disadvantage having 10 years service coming into the unit to start a culture all over again. And sometimes if the mental state is not as mature as it would have been, then you have persons feeling frustrated and all of that. So what we want, new minds, young persons, of course we do a lot of background checks. And if your background is not clean, most likely you will not be, because we would not tolerate it. You're dealing with issues of national security, you're dealing with other persons, and you are your brother's keeper. So we want persons, feel free to apply. You address it, you can send it to the commissioner's office or through HR or directly to the Marine unit, but bear in mind that the commissioner has a hand in it, the public service has a hand in it, and also we are looking at persons to serve the country with all they have. So it's not just a matter of coming into the unit, enjoying the training. If you are money is going to be spent on you, then you have to give the service for it. So most of my education after I left secondary school have been financed by the government of St. Lucia, the government of the United States. So I did a lot of training, and I think sometime you ask, why am I always that cool?
Yeah.
So I had a rare opportunity in 2008 when I attended the Coast Guard Chief Petty Officer Academy. I met a rear admiral, which you don't really meet these high-ranking officers at the graduation. And he said something I never forget, which was, calm is collective.
Say that again, Inspector.
Calm is collective.
Calm is collective.
Yes.
Okay.
Remain calm, do what you have to do. You have enough time to think. If you're in a hurry, you miss a lot of things. And it have worked.
I think that's good advice for a relationship too, you know.
Yes.
Relationships.
Oh, well,
you think?
That's one other show.
That's one other show, yes.
Yes. So in our world, maritime world, calm is collective. As a navigator, you would see everything going wrong. But if you are the captain of the boat, even if everybody else is screaming, and you want to scream, probably scream from within. But it does not matter the sea condition, what it is, we have to get it there. So even if we live in the middle of a hurricane, in the middle of something, we have to make sure that we protect the government asset and that we are in charge and take care of the persons that we are responsible for. So we've had the challenges, and we are seeing light at the end of the tunnel because the U.S. government have been back with us from August. So we are hoping for many, many good things as the months come by and the years to come.
Excellent. We're looking for great news when it comes to that. And that's some excellent information given to us there. Speaking of sea conditions, Inspector, let's speak a little bit about, is it okay to say drownings or suspected drownings, whatever the case may be? It's okay?
Feel free.
Okay, drownings, suspected drownings. Can you speak to us in terms of, has it been an issue, especially during the pandemic time, 2020, 2021?
Drownings and incidents at sea have always been a sore point for us. We try to say to individuals, if you cannot swim, we advise you to stay at waist level. There are some clear indicators as to having underwater currents and sea conditions that would drive you to lose your life. So if you have a lot of storm surge, you have a lot of underwater current, it is simple to identify. If you notice the water is very calm, that doesn't mean there's no current.
That's interesting.
Right? So you take a leaf, a dry leaf, you just throw it in the water. You would notice how fast the leaf is drifting, so you know there's some current under. If you step into the water, you would feel the sand is being washed away from beneath your toes, which means you don't go deeper if you are not a swimmer. If you have returning currents, which would pull you away from the shore, you need to remain at least waist level so you can stand up and walk out of it. If you have storm surge, which will be rolling, as they say, the sea is rolling, then you're not supposed to be in. Don't be a hero because the sea has no friends. So with that, we've had many incidents where persons venture further than they can swim. Sometimes they are good swimmers, and what happened, they are stuck in a current. Now, no matter how strong you are, because I'm a swimmer, I do swim sometimes for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, just try to remain fit when time permit. But if you are not able, if you are in a current and you get stuck, just work with the current coming out gradually. Because the harder you fight the current, you're going to go down.
You're going to go down. You cannot beat the current.
You cannot beat the current. If you are a good swimmer, you go down, you come up, you go down, you come up, just gently and take your time. You should be able to get out. But the number one thing, if you are stuck before you do all of that, call for help. So it's not advisable to go to the beach by yourself. Always go with a group of friends. And it's sometimes just go with a line and a container, a floating container, so at least you can throw it to the person, similar to the lifeguard stuff, so they can hold on to it and you can pull onto them. So we've had a number of mishaps island-wide, and which is unfortunate. So I did quite a bit of diving in terms of recovery of persons who have drowned, and it is a nightmare to see young persons, you dive and then a young person succumb to that. We know the area at Sandy Beach, you have a lot of current that normally takes persons to the end where we call Shantytown or Bruceville. So sometimes we have persons in that area, even a priest a few years ago got drowned in that area because got sucked in by the current and all of that. So you need to note those areas. As calm as it may seem, there may be a little underwater current that may tend to give you a bit of trouble. You have the Pigeon Point, the Rodney Bay area. Not necessary current. Not necessary current. But sometimes, because of the quality of the water, persons tend to go further than they can swim. And by the time you see you maybe about 10 meters away, when you try to stand up, you're actually over your head. So we advise persons, if you're going to go to the beach, at least stay waist height, chest height. You can stand and try to jump your way back. Even if you're a good swimmer, notice the sea condition, notice the current and all of that is happening. And sometimes the best sea conditions, you can have a gust of wind.
Interesting.
In Creole, you can do jeune malva, mais la animal female va. You get a gust of wind that will just change things for a while, and persons get stuck into it.
Wow. People, this is
But
very
in
serious.
terms of the drowning
Very
and
serious.
life saving, we can have a separate show because it's a long thing.
It's a long thing.
And then we can, at another time,
So I'll have to bring the inspector back for that second show because it's very important. And there is something that he mentioned, or he has advised, that has really stuck with me. He said bring along a device, like with a tin
a
or
container.
something.
So for example, the bleach container, it seals very, very nice.
Yes.
Okay, so it's empty, it's clean. You go into the beach, take at least 30, 40 feet of line, a rope, you tie it to it. So in the event somebody's in trouble, you send it out to them and somebody hold the end. So you can actually, the person remain afloat, and then you pull them in, because you might not be able to walk around with a life ring. A football, you make a little harness over it, and then there are lots of little devices you don't have to buy, you can make, so at least to save somebody's life.
Excellent. Oh, excellent information, people. I love the sea myself. I'm kind of a swimmer, but after hearing what the inspector have said, I believe I'll stay a little closer to the seashore. We're going to take another quick break. Stay tuned to Police Inside.
Players, please note that effective November 1st, our evening draws will close at 7:55 p.m. Monday to Saturday, with broadcast at 8 p.m. This is in keeping with the new curfew measures. Super 6 draw closure will remain at 11:45 a.m. on Tuesdays and Fridays, with broadcast during the midday draw.
It's my life and I want more. More time, more power. Pay my Lucy like bill isn't hard. I pay with credit or debit card. Pay direct to Lucy like my account. I have the power, yeah. Pay online to Lucy like my account. Anywhere, any day, any hour. Lights are on at home. No more standing in line. No more worrying about my bill. Now I'm all paid up. Got more time to chill, yeah, yeah. Pay my Lucy like bill isn't hard. I pay with credit or debit card.
For the first time ever in St. Lucia, the Monopole Cooperative Credit Union offers loans to purchase the vehicle of your dreams, regardless of the age. We also provide full comprehensive insurance coverage for vehicles up to 15 years. Our interest rates start at 6.5% with only 10% deposit required. So feel free, dream, test drive, select. We're here to provide the finance and insurance to get you on the road regardless of the age. Monopole Cooperative Credit Union. Our people, our community, our credit union. Telephone 455-3370.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Police Insight. Your host there, Sergeant Zachary Hippolyte. In studio with me is the commander, one in charge of the Police Marine Unit, Inspector Kentry Frederick. And we've been having an excellent discussion. We're now getting some tips, especially on being safe when you go to the beach. People, it's very, very, very easy. And if you miss what he said, trust me, you could always go back to the Choice Media platform, the Facebook page, and you could see everything again and listen to those tips. Now I'm just going through some of the reactions there in the Facebook chat. And Inspector, there's a question there for you. I think I will put that to you now. Good evening to you too. Question to the inspector. Is the engineering department really the best department at the PMU? I wonder if that's a police officer. Okay. What were you saying, man?
That argument has been, and it will be for the next 175 years. We always have it. On every given day, the engineers say we are the best. So the navigators say we are the best. We take the boat from here to there. So the engineers would say, but I fix the engine for you.
Without me, you cannot go nowhere.
Without me, you cannot go anywhere. Yeah. So the logistics person would now say, but the fuel you're using, I purchase it.
There's a little bit of friendly rivalry there going on in the unit.
And even the electronics and the other person say, but look, the radar, the radio, I'm tuning it for you.
Yes.
So when you look at it, in my field, navigation and boat handling is the best. But I do understand, I do pity the other departments that that like to be as small. But we work as one unit, and at the end of the day, we come together because if you were to have a conversation with the commissioners of police over the years, from Mr. Nelson, Mr. Bernard, and many others, I think I've seen about 12 or 13 commissioners of police. Yes. They would tell you the Marine Police Department is one of the departments when we reach to police headquarters in terms of a phone call, it has always been just to report the conditions and one or two. So we try our utmost best not to give headache to police headquarters. So fortunately for us, the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Daisy, also Mr. Mosheri, they are products of the Marine Unit. Yes. So if you speak to the Commissioner...
I knew about Mr. Daisy, but I didn't know about Mr. Mosheri.
Yes, Mr. Mosheri was...
Good night, sir. I know you watch it.
Many years ago. Okay. So I know we have always been grateful to have them at the top so they understand the language. And I must commend the commissioners in terms of us calling on a daily basis. They would always take the call, return the call, because it's always a fruitful discussion, something of that sort. So we pride ourselves in not giving headquarters the headache. The headache that we have to transfer or give to headquarters are administrative issues that need to be attended to. So in terms of discipline, in terms of dealing with things and individuals, we take care of that internally because you need to get it right. So if you're out at sea, if you're out in another country, there's a code of conduct that you must adhere to. And there's no ways about it. If you have to wash dishes on the vessel, you have to wash dishes. If you have to cook, you have to cook. If you have to tie a line, you have to tie a line.
Yeah.
So there's nothing like you cannot listen to that person. So before you leave, there's a briefing. When you get over there, there's a briefing, and on the way, there's a manner to conduct yourself. We also have females working in the department.
Yes, yes.
So what we do is to have the females understand when you board the boat, there's no male or female. There's an individual. But we respect them. We know the boundaries in terms of human rights and all of that, and in terms of how we're supposed to conduct ourselves during that. So on a general sense, we take care of ourselves. But I would still maintain the engineering department. No, not close.
Oh, man. Sorry, guys. Inspector, there is a 7 unit.
Yes.
Am I correct?
A base, which is a sub-base.
It's a sub-base.
Right.
Are you overall in charge of both like the southern base as well as the northern?
I'm overall in charge of the entire unit, which is north and south.
Okay.
But I also have an individual which work in the south, which manage the day-to-day affairs of the south.
Okay.
So the south is strictly operations.
Strictly operations.
And
I see.
response to a lot of things.
I see.
And the unit is not only out there in terms of drug interdiction, but we have the day-to-day fisheries violation, custom violation. You have an eye-opener to human trafficking. And the illegal trade, not just only marijuana or cocaine, but
which is what you normally think of.
Right. So you have persons who may want to bring in a dog, persons who may want to bring goods that are forbidden by customs. So we have all of that, and also the RSS responsibility to our partner nations in terms of natural disaster. For example, Hurricane Maria in Dominica, 2018, if I recall, I should be right. We had 10 visits to Dominica, taking SSU, taking doctors, taking medical supplies, and all of that. Recently, April, May of this year, when the volcanic eruption in St. Vincent, we had 10 successive missions to St. Vincent. So fortunately, or unfortunately for me, I was on 10 of those missions, and we did witness many eruptions sometimes. Just before we get there or while we were there. So we were in the middle of it, and then we handle it like going to Mega Chase, just do some shopping and go back, because that's why we get paid. And we enjoy doing it.
I like that. Yes. That's how trained you guys are.
Yes.
Okay, so people, it's not just, most times when you think of the Marine unit on the seas, we all think about, all they care about is looking for vessels with drugs and stuff like that. There is so much more to that unit, as you just heard from the inspector. You mentioned, you said fisheries enforcement, etc.
Yes.
So let's speak about the fisher folk for a second.
The fisher folks, it's a trouble area, and sometimes we do have little workshops. But unfortunately, no matter how well it is organized by the Department of Fisheries, it is poorly attended. Now, when that information is not given, you have a complaint. But when the information is given and it is not accepted by the fishers, you end up in distress, or what we call search and rescue. Sadly, in recent times, week before, we had 5 cases of search and rescue within a week.
Within a week?
Right. So 4 of those cases were solved. 1 remained unsolved with 2 individuals from the Viewport area. What happens is the difference between survival at sea and perishing at sea, it's not far. Because an engine can break down just like an engine from a vehicle, driving alongside the road. But in the world of navigation, you have drift, which means the current is taking you away, and then you have the elements. So if you have the wind blowing at 3 miles per hour, and you're out for 10 hours, 3 by 10, that's 30. So more than likely you will be 30 to 40 miles away from land.
That's a lot. Yeah. Wow.
The sea condition, and probably it's, so there's something called set and drift in the world of navigation. If we know where you are generally fishing, we would be able to work set and drift so that we can have an estimate grid as to where you might be. The problem is with the fishers, sometimes they don't tell somebody where they're going to for various reasons.
For various reasons, yeah.
Right? So in the education drive with the fisheries department, which we always do, the workshops, is to sensitize person, at least tell somebody where you're going. Take a handheld radio. Take a cell phone, because the cell phone is not a replacement for the handheld radio. However, it is a need. Because if you're 10 miles away and you're lost at sea, there's no telephone coverage, at least a yacht or vessel, you can call Mayday on channel 16.
Okay.
But if you have a cell phone, even if I'm a mile away from you and I don't have your number, you have my number, it's like having nobody to help.
Yeah.
So the fishers now need to understand the business they are in is very risky, and that they need to be able to accept the information and apply it to their day-to-day business, because we need the fish. And they are doing it with their heart and soul, but they need to step up, receive the information to prevent such the distress. Because for us as a department, a search and rescue is very expensive, at taxpayers' expense. And that is not the most difficult part. I think over the years for me, I've had to visit maybe 10 or 12 families to inform them of
oh my goodness.
the distress. But I think I had maybe about 6 to inform the families that the relative perished at sea, including my nephew. So I have been through it. My sister's son perished at sea, and a few years ago. So I have seen it, and I want persons to heed caution to it. Pay if the Met Service say you have a storm surge warning, you have small craft advisory warning, stay home for a day. It is the difference between life and death. So in as much as the search and rescue or responding to a distress is terrible in terms of the financial aspect of it, the most valuable aspect to that is the loss of human life. And one life lost at sea is too many. And also in that regard, most persons would say, okay, I called and my relative is lost at sea and the Coast Guard boat is sitting there.
Yes.
Right.
I've heard that, yes.
So sometimes we try to explain to them, if we have an idea as to where you are, it's easy to take our asset, we do our navigation work, and then we can work with you to a search pattern to try to get you. However, we are not working a distress vessel alone, a search and rescue. We have partner nations like St. Vincent, Trinidad, Grenada, Barbados, the French. You have the MRCC, which is the Maritime Rescue Coordination Center in Martinique. So what would normally happen when you get on alert, because the fisher or the vessel would be late or overdue before missing.
I see.
Because somebody can be expected back at 4 in the afternoon, and probably sea condition, they have to drive slower to come in. So they get 5:30. You are not lost at sea, you're just late.
Okay.
Overdue boils into hours after.
I see.
4, 5, 6 hours after it becomes overdue. So when you actually get missing, is 24 hours later.
Oh.
Not 3, 4 hours later. You are overdue, but when you go into 24 hours after a complete day, then you're missing. When that happens, we take the information we have and we feed it to our partner nations. So with the French, they would fly, and an aircraft would be able to see much more than one vessel searching an entire basin. So when that happened, the Defender, the Protector, the vessels we have, they're sitting alongside, waiting to respond, because the aircraft can see you, but then we can retrieve you. So if you are seen within our area, then we are given the grid, we work our navigation, and then we go and get you. But if you are outside of that, you now fall into the space of San Juan, Puerto Rico, which is also the U.S. Coast Guard. They also fly.
Okay.
Because it's the loss of a human life, and that is very excellent. You have the Safety of Life at Sea Convention, which all seagoing vessels, once they see another vessel out there in distress, they have a responsibility to rescue.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Right.
Okay.
So you have merchant ships, you have yachts, you have pleasure craft, you have tankers, super tankers out there. They would rescue. Sometimes because of the journey, they are not able to stop. So a super tanker, which would be
That's huge.
maybe 500, 600 feet long, carrying millions of gallons of fuel, from the full speed to a halt would be about an hour, 2 hours. Yes. For example, the Geese boat, when it's coming to St. Lucia, from neutralizing to entering the Castries harbor, that's almost an hour or thereabout from the time it gets to neutral before it enters the Castries harbor, and you have momentum and just a little thrust taking it in. So these big vessels cannot stop as immediate as a small vessel. So a lot happened behind the scenes in order to have persons rescued out at sea. But a lot of those distress calls, a lot of those missing fishermen, overdue fishermen, it can be avoided. Because if you're going out at sea, you need water, at least a 5-day water supply, 5 gallons of water. You need food to sustain you for at least 2-3 days. You need a mirror. You need a mirror.
Okay.
Because you have distress signals. For example, if I would use my cell phone, the sun is bright, and then you're waving vigorously, your hand in the air. That would indicate a distress call. Also, your hand up and down, not just a gentle wave, but So there are different international distress calls that once you do that, another vessel can understand that you're in trouble. The challenge to that is some parts of the world where you have piracy, persons may tend to do that, and other vessels may not want to render assistance. But we don't have that problem within our immediate region. I remember there was some piracy from Trinidad to Venezuela, but that also have to do with the drug trade. But between Grenada, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Martinique, Dominica, Antigua, which is also within Barbados, within the RSS zone, except Martinique, and Guadeloupe, which is on the French side of things. But there is a level of cooperation. There's a memorandum of understanding between us and the French, and we work very, very well. The French have been very cooperative. The French have been very good to us, even when we were not getting any assistance. Anytime it comes to distress out at sea, the French would respond in kind.
Excellent. Wow, this is just excellent information. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we'll be opening up the lines. Hope we could get some calls, check out some messages, Facebook, WhatsApp, questions for my guest. Stay tuned to Police Insight.
The St. Lucia Teachers Credit Cooperative Limited continues to encourage its members to make the educated choice. Sign up for our online and ATM card services. This allows you to check your account balance, transfer funds, view account history, deposit and withdraw funds 24 hours a day at your convenience. Call us today for more information or visit your nearest branch to apply for our online and ATM card service. The St. Lucia Teachers Credit Cooperative Limited, an educated choice.
Protected me and my little nephew when she got vaccinated.
My doctor is protecting me. She's vaccinated.
My aunt protected me when she got vaccinated.
COVID-19 vaccines are available for people from the age of 12 years and older. Being vaccinated against the virus does not only protect you, it also makes our country safer for those who cannot receive the vaccine.
Vaccinate for you, for yours, for us.
With Prime bundles from Digicel, you get more than just data. You level up to a whole new digital life. Level up with D-Music and groove along to all your favorite music tracks. Level up with Sports Max and catch all the adrenaline-packed live sports action.
Oh, what a goal!
Level up with Go Loud and tune into local radio stations and the most happening podcasts from around the world. And level up with Playgo and get a front row seat to watch the latest movies and TV series. Enjoy a 7-day bundle starting at only $30 with 50 gigabytes of dedicated data for premium access to your favorite apps without touching your any-use data. Experience the next level with your Digicel Prime bundle. Activate now with the My Digicel app.
Hey, welcome back to Police Insight. Your host there, Sergeant Zachary Hippolyte of the Royal Saint Police Force. In studio with me, Inspector Kentry Frederick, the officer in charge of the Police Marine Unit. We're going to open up the lines. Just put that number on the screen. It is 456-0306. 456-0306. Yeah, I'm going to get there, people. You know, we're now at our new home at Choice TV. I'll also checking out the Facebook platform, see if there's any questions. You could also send me a message on WhatsApp, 7200401, 7200401. Inspector, well, as we await some calls and before I check on the platforms, let's speak to, okay, we have a call already. Okay, let's take that call. Good night. Good night, caller.
Good evening.
Good night, caller. Are you there?
Mr. Zachary, good night.
Good night, my brother. What's up?
I call you, boss. I give you a break for a couple of days.
You know, you came to mind recently, you know. Honestly, you did.
I'm back.
Talk to me, my brother.
I don't know if Mr. Inspector Frederick know me very well, but I must say, hats off to Mr. Mitchell. I didn't work with him. I worked along with him. Because Mr. Mitchell should know. I mean, I don't know if he do me very well. Come to give them a service to cut the grass for them, clean up their yard, and cut the trees to avoid anybody from killing them. You know, I mean because you know it's a marine yard, and they used to have boats and bikes. They used to impound in the they have a little yard called the pound.
The pound.
Right, and guys used to come and thief. So we to give them a service. So hats off to he and Mr. Mitchell. But there's a lady, I think he called a lady name. They call Miss Nadine something. What is her name? Miss Nadine what?
Nadine George.
Okay. What's that lady?
Okay, she's now the officer in charge of the IT division of the RSLPF.
Nice lady.
Yeah, very nice. Actually, my schoolmate.
Oh, man, that lady is a darling. Personally, I wouldn't mind having her as my wife.
I don't know about that. I specialize in maritime, but
that lady is a darling, man.
Nadine is doing fine. We spoke a few days ago.
We should come there and to talk to her and tell her, ask her, do this, do that, and you know, help you all in the yard because there was an area on the hill which was dangerous to the marine department because anybody could stay and shoot at them. Now, Mr. Inspector Frederick, you're an excuse of the Leahy law basis, right?
The Leahy law, yes.
Is it because you all have never? I've heard some stories concerning. I've heard some stories concerning the police marine unit, but I don't know if you were there at the time concerning the marine shooting Ben fellas at sea and killing them. But strange enough, you all were they have a thing they call it,
we were not able to participate in any U.S. program.
Right. And then you all were free from extrajudicial killing, right?
The unit or the RSLPF?
No. The unit.
No, get it right. The RSLPF, not the Marine unit.
No, yes, hear me. They say out of the police force, you all and the immigration department was not involved in any killing.
That is correct.
Yeah,
that is
right.
correct.
so they give you all the green light so they can train you all and give you training for whatever it is, right?
Correct.
So hats off to you all.
Thank you very much.
And I love that show tonight. Tonight is a very good show. I learned some things I never know.
Yes, me
I
too.
mean, hold a line on over the rope, over the beach, and you know.
Yeah.
Very good show.
A Clorox bottle could save you.
Yes. So, Mr. Frederick, good night to you, and also to Mr. Zachary.
Yeah, my brother. Nice to hear you again, bro.
But to your Bobo Diga, sir.
Riga, sir. Tebo.
Boy, everything way.
Remember, no kai boy.
Look at Baliga, sir.
Okay. All right, buddy. Take care.
Yes,
Thank you so
rightfully
much,
so. The imposition of the Leahy Law was not specific to the Marine Unit. And in as much as we would have not been able to participate in U.S.-related activities, remember the assets were sponsored by the U.S. government, all of our vessels. So we have to maintain it as per U.S. standards.
Excellent.
And it is very nice to know that callers and other persons in St. Lucia have understood the role of the unit. And we have a lot of corporate citizens, who understand and sometimes come in and inquire if there are things we can do. If you look at the St. Lucia Red Cross, you look at NEMO, there were agencies, especially during COVID. They came in and say, okay, look, we know you all are going through this. Here is a few cases of water. Here is this and that and the other. And which we are always thankful to these organizations.
Excellent.
So with the commissioner being a Marine, or as we would say, a Matlo, the commissioner is always accessible and he understands very well.
We still have someone on the line?
I do know.
Oh, we have another caller. Okay, let's take that call. Good night, caller.
Yeah, good night, gentlemen.
Good night, sir. How are you doing? Thanks for holding.
Yes. Well, holding on for a good cause.
Okay.
I must congratulate the two of you for this show. Wonderful show. Very informative.
Thank you.
I must say.
Thank you very much.
Little things that I didn't know, like the current, the underground current, how you could, not get yourself in difficulties and so on. How you should handle yourself if this arrives, while you're at sea, having a little bath and so on. So I must say, these are information that should be given to schools, because if you notice, the majority of St. Lucians at that early age cannot swim.
Good point, caller. Good point.
And then now, that alone, when they have been taught, then they could get involved, in teaching others. It would have a domino effect, Now, I just want to ask the inspector one question. Inspector,
Sure.
You started your policing career at Slasper?
I spent 9 months in there with Mr. Willie, Mr. Nestor. I think there was a gentleman called
I remember the face now.
Yes.
I was your paymaster.
Is that Mr. DeMyers?
Sayers, not DeMyers. You always call me DeMyers. Sayers.
Mr. Colum DeMyers?
No, Sayers.
Mr. Sayers?
Yeah, the paymaster.
Okay, absolutely. With the nice forehead. Yes?
I see you follow me. So
yes, how you doing?
I always look out for you guys.
How you doing?
And anytime we meet, we speak. So wonderful shows happen.
The port is still my home. The port is still my home. We, in the execution of duties, and I must commend the ports police. I have never been to the ANC port and not receive the treatment as though I am still working here.
Wow.
When I go there, probably the old folks, even after I leave, they'll say, he used to work here way back then.
That's nice.
And I appreciate the friendship. Even when the ports police need some little help, we don't have the boundaries. So we welcome them, just call the Marine unit, and then we keep it. But nice to hear from
Thank
you, sir.
Big up yourself, Mr. Sayers.
Yes. All the best down the road, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in your khaki.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, sir.
All the best.
All the best.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you
very much. Yes, the relationship between the SLASPA and the Marine Unit must remain because we work 24 hours a day. We work hand in hand, and anything that happens, we are each other's keeper.
Excellent.
So I am happy, Mr. Sayers. I remember Mr. Colum DeMyers, Mr. Plant, and a lot of persons from there. Yes, it was a short but a good ride with SLASPA.
Another call on the line. Good night, caller.
Good night, Mr. Hippolyte.
Good night, buddy. Talk to me.
Good night to Inspector Kentry Frederick.
I'm Frederick. Frederick, yes. How are you?
I know he carries two hats at times.
I carry like 7 hats, you know. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a son, I'm a brother.
You're deputy president of some organization.
Absolutely. I am, you recognize the face. I am also the first vice president of National Council on Public Transportation. So
good.
I think the person probably knows me.
Very, very, very interesting, very informative program tonight, and I always say to persons, when you're a police officer, it is nothing easy, especially when it comes to the hurricane season, that you have to leave your family behind and country first, especially when you have to travel from St. Lucia to Dominica or St. Lucia to Grenada. It's nothing easy to be on that boat. And to be on that water midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, is nothing easy. Again, good program. One thing I realized, and it has been coming up, normally there are persons who are going by the sea. They're going for a sea bath. But you have kids, you have children running across in the water. So that's unsupervised. And when you check yourself that someone has lost their life.
Right.
Persons have been speaking about to have lifesavers on the beach, and in case of, somebody's in difficulties that they could assist. And it will come up when somebody has gone to the beach, person got drowned, then the next day you have persons are making reasons why they did not know no lifesavers on the beach or whatever it is. This is something that we have to take on very serious, because you work at the Marine Unit and there are divers at the Marine Unit. Sometimes when you call upon, like, say, somebody, do a search and rescue, the person has drowned. It also put you, the diver, in fear sometimes, because it depends on the water that you have to go to at least to search for that missing person, or missing body. Right. Again, I said, hats off. And there is something that you said, calm is collective. Yeah. I like that.
Yes.
okay, so all the best. Again, I know your department is they say that it's one of the best departments in the residential police force. Because from there, when you come from, when you retired, you still have something, your engineer. You have something under your hand.
Yeah.
At least to further out there to be in the next department. At least after it happened, okay? They say that's the best department. But I said our department is also the best department.
You're referring to navigation, right? You're referring to navigation.
Engineer on your side.
Okay, I guess you must be a friend. I guess you must be a friend of Mr. Mittil. So Mr. Mittil says navigation, my former commander, and I still maintain.
Yeah. He's one of my early days at Central Police Station.
Okay.
Very nice gentleman.
He was a good man.
Yeah,
he's still alive. We're still in touch.
Yeah,
yes. And also Inspector Francis George, I think. He's from Entrepot. He's pretty old now, but I did speak with him a few months ago. He was one of my mentors many years ago. And he said something to me prior to 2 individuals, which was the Rear Admiral that I met at Coast Guard Academy. When I joined the unit, Inspector George was actually watching me for about a whole week. And he said something to me in Creole. Usam anti-bobo pa fe bo pa vini sied ba mo pe stwaka. And I always remember that, Inspector George. So if you're watching, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much to the persons that have worked with me and have taught me over the years. I'm very much appreciative.
Thank you, caller.
Yes, and thank you, caller.
Take care. I have a message here from former Police Commissioner Severin Moshiri.
Oh, yes.
He says, Mr. Moshiri is one of the best navigators and coxswain. Did I say that correctly?
That's from him.
Yeah, that's from him.
Okay.
That's from Mr. Moshiri.
So you understand why the navigators say we are the best.
Yeah, and he goes on to say the navigation section is the best, but engineering section is the most important. That's from Mr. Severin Moshiri. You have another call on the line? Let's take that call. Good night, caller.
Mr. Zachary.
Yeah, my brother.
I want to ask Mr. Frederick, when they going to have a yard sale?
A yard sale, an auction.
Auction, yeah.
Okay, the auction is based on the government of St. Lucia disposing of assets that are qualified to be disposed.
For so long.
How
many boats there? How many bikes
It
there?
has taken so long for that to happen.
Yes, how many boats there? How many bikes there?
It's very interesting you spoke about the bikes. So just give me 2 seconds on the boats and I'll go on the bikes. The vessels that are there, when the matters are done, vessels are boats for the listeners. The boats that are there, when the matter is done, depend on the outcome of the case, whether it becomes property of the state. If it becomes the property of the state, then the state would dispose in terms of auction. If it is in a dilapidated state, then we can dispose of.
Okay.
So when that happens, then they would put it up for auction, but the licensed auctioneer would be the one doing it through the Ministry of Finance. So you can always check with the Ministry of Finance in that regard. Sometimes it is published in the Gazette, sometimes it is not. You know how things can work. But if you have interest in a vessel, you can also call our office or come by. Well, COVID is around.
I'll come there. I know the business.
So the information is not that we cannot give to you, but then depend on what state the vessel is. And I think I recognize the voice.
You know me.
Yes. From up north.
Yes. No. From downtown.
Oh, okay. I know who now. Right.
Yeah.
So when the vessel is up for auction, then the auction will be held, and then you place a bid on it through that. So
but Mr. Frederick, now how many bikes there? Bikes you all hold.
okay.
How many bikes?
So we go into the bikes.
Yeah. There's the bikes now.
We should have at least maybe 100 plus motorcycles there.
How are you?
That's a lot.
Yes.
90% of them came through illegal means.
Wow.
Which means you cannot even auction it. Right? Because some of them never came through customs.
Right.
So when the traffic department or the other patrol teams, the other outstation do their interceptions or they stop and the bike is not registered, it is not even supposed to be on country, then you have to store it ready to dispose of. What we recommend that the pollutants, which are the oil and other stuff like that, be removed and disposed to create a reef a few miles off. But those that are within our perimeters to auction, then the commissioner, the Ministry of Finance would have to make a determination and customs to auction that or otherwise. But I would say to you, 90% of the motorcycles we have in our yard, they are not even supposed to be in St. Lucia.
That's true, but Mr. Frederick, last time little boys come and thief them in your yard.
We used to have a problem, but it is handled on a different scale right now.
Okay.
Not that I can say at that medium, but
I know. We're going to do
we have to admit we had a problem.
Yes.
And then we handle it in a different way.
Okay. Yes. Now, you have some vehicles you see, and it's in your pond. How about the vehicles?
The vehicles that are in the pond, there is an information sheet on that. Most of them insurance, accidents, lack of registration and different stuff like that. So the same process will be. Sometimes all the owners have to do, the matter is before the court, and sometimes by the time, and we charge no rent because the property is that of the government of St. Lucia. So we charge no rent for them being there. We just keeping them we just have them for safekeeping.
Okay.
So when that happens, when the matter is over, if the court charge you $5,000, you pay your $5,000 plus your insurance, your registration at Transport Board, and then the traffic department take you there to get your vehicle.
Okay, boss.
Right. So that is the process. So the Marine unit, in terms of motorcycles and vehicles, we are just custodians, safekeeping. But in terms of vessels, and there are some vessels that may not see water, not in the next 100 years, because they are the means of conveyance for a lot of activities that the government does not subscribe to.
Okay, Bossman. Take care.
All right, caller, thank you.
You're welcome.
Quick question from the Facebook platform. We cannot forget you. Someone wants to know, Inspector, are the Marine Police authorized or are they able to arrest anyone that is not in the marine environment? Or is it only the authority limited to the seas? In other words, can you arrest on land? Someone wants to know.
Even on a tree. Even on a tree. So I am an inspector of police. So when I leave here, when I leave here, between here and where I will be in the next 20 minutes drive to I will be this evening, if an accident happens, I'm a police officer on scene. I am duty bound to stop, check what is happening while the traffic department is coming. So I am a police officer that is subjected to work Castries, Vieux Fort Soufrière on the pitons, on the beach, but I am assigned to the Marine Unit Department. So we can arrest, we do everything And our boss is still the Commissioner of Police.
We have another call on the line?
Yes, we can.
Okay, all right. Let's take a break. We're going to take a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we're headed down to the end of the show. More discussions with the inspector. Stay tuned.
Celebrate the season with a Christmas loan from the Royal St. Lucia Police and Ally Services Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Get up to $10,000 with no deposit necessary and quick 24 hours processing time. That's $10,000 just in time for the Christmas season. So ring in the holidays with a Christmas loan from the Royal St. Lucia Police and Ally Services Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Call or visit us today. Terms and conditions apply. Promotion ends December 31st, 2021.
Dis-moi ça qui a affecté ou. Dis-moi problème pays a. Dis-moi solution parce que moi savent ou savent. Dis-moi qui manière nous savent mener cette liste devant pour faire un bon place pour l'autre génération. Dis-moi ça qui a soutien. Dis-moi tous les samedis soirs à 6h30 à sous choice.
We heard you missed us, and we are excited to be back with Lifestyles with Candy Nicholas on Choice Media Network. We have great information on how to enhance your health and well-being. So join us every Monday at 7:30 p.m. as we discuss with experts on disease prevention, healing, staying fit, aging gracefully, the right foods and tools for health optimization, and keeping beautiful inside and out. Life-changing information, plus opportunities to win amazing health and wellness-related gifts. Join us Mondays at 7:30 p.m. Lifestyles with Candy Nicholas, only on Choice Media Network.
Welcome back to Police Insight. I hope you've been tuned in to the very amazing and informative show. We're already counting down. We have about probably 11 minutes left. So let's just continue try and get most questions. And the lines are still open, 456-0306. If you have any questions for myself or my guest. Inspector, I see a question there. Yeah. Call on the line? Okay. Ooh, caller, you there? Good night, caller. We lost that one? Okay. We have a question here. Inspector, with the rate of drownings, considering we are a country surrounded by water, should the Marine Unit have a responsibility to make swimming and life-saving sessions available to the citizenry?
Absolutely. What we were engaged in prior to COVID is to have, and the Marine Unit have had an educational drive with schools within the different regions, especially during Reading Month, to sensitize them of that. But what we recognize, the program we were putting in is to speak about swimming and life-saving and all of that. But COVID hit, and then we had to retract from almost everything we were doing, because it has been very challenging for us with COVID to continue to give the service with that virus. So yes, we will engage it. We are hoping when the numbers go down and persons are vaccinated and all of that, so we have more access to persons in terms of swimming and life-saving, especially at the tender ages.
Okay. We have a call? Okay, let's take that call. Good night, caller. Oh, I think the caller is having some difficulty. Caller, are you there? Oh, we lost that call. Sorry, caller, I don't know if you could try again. You said there's something you wanted to touch on while we were on the break?
Yes, while we were on the break, we were discussing the engagements with the Americans.
Yes.
And what is very noted, I think somebody asked about border control and all of that. We are moving towards that, which is a greater entity, which gives us more latitude in terms of protecting our...
So that is still on stream?
It's still on stream. Our waters, so you have the 3-mile radius, you have the 12 miles, you have the 24 miles. And because we are so close between Martinique and St. Vincent, 24, 22 miles, they're about point to point. We have to work with these partner nations in terms of how we do our fisheries water, our economic zone and all of that. So we have a lot of things that are happening, and the Americans are actually looking at building the relationship that we had from 2013.
That's good.
And that is why from August to now, the commissioner has given us the the engagements with the Americans. Actually, we were with them today also to look at that. What is interesting enough is that he have given me to accomplish that task, great support staff in that of Sergeant Bailey, Corporal Charles. We also have Sergeant Ogis, Sergeant Felix, and Antoine in the electrical department. We have Sergeant Mason in the engineering department. So we have engaged all those senior persons in fruitful and frank discussion with the Americans, so we can have the conversion back to what we used to, because we need the training, we need the professional development for the continuance of the unit, even after I retire a few years from now.
Excellent. We have a call.
Hello, good night.
Okay, good night, caller. How are you doing?
Yeah, how are you, sir?
Thanks for holding on.
Good night. Thank you.
Talk to me.
Yeah, the question I want to ask is, I'm hearing about American supporting the police force and things. Why is only on American St. Lucian police force is depending on what about the British?
The British
was under the rulership of the British.
Yes, the British we had, if you remember, I said in 1990 when I joined the unit, we have had 3 successive commanders, Commander Maxwell, Commander Hockyard, Commander Critchley. They were from the British government, what you call the loan service personnel. So after that program ended, the British continue giving us technical support, sometimes financial support, but the bulk of the support has always been from the American government. So we're looking at that coming in. Now, with Leahy Law being imposed, it made it almost impossible to get assistance from any other nation that the Americans are dealing with. So that is outside of the window. I must tell you, 2 weeks ago we had what you call the Chief of Defense and Commanders Conference, which St. Lucia for the first time in 7 to 8 years was able to sit in that. And the British, the Jamaicans, the Trinidadians, the Australians, we had frank discussion in terms of engaging us back in that kind of training and development.
That, because with what that happened there with the police officers of that whatever what they was calling it, risk confidence, whatever. And the Americans have been like trashing our police officers. You know, I find it is disrespectful. Because why? Because America have too many crimes, hazardous crime that they are not looking about, and they want to like penalize our officers. What they did, it was not them. It was the government. It was the government of the day that gave them the leeway. So I don't know why they like. They cannot support this, they cannot support that. And we was under British law, and we was under French. We was under French and British. So
the French have been very helpful, caller.
You know, to me, those two nations supposed to see about the Caribbean more than I'm going to America or we waiting upon America.
Okay, caller, thank you.
Okay,
thank you so much.
I understand that, but also if you have to look at military policies, you have to look at government policies. So a lot have to be reviewed. A lot was reviewed during the period of 2013 to 2020. And then the engagement to have, because it was clear that the Marine unit have been participating. And yes, on a national scale, even within our partner nations in RSS, St. Lucia, despite the challenges, we remain on top of the chain in terms of producing law enforcement and all of that. So we have been in there, we've been doing what we've been doing. But as I said, for that, the supportive staff in terms of my admin staff, in terms of the engineering, electronics, and all of that, we have been able to keep ourselves together.
Which is excellent. How many minutes we got left? We have another call on the line?
Yes, hello, good evening.
Okay, let's take that call. Good evening. Thank you for calling. Talk to me.
Yeah, I just have a concern. What are the terms and conditions, say, like if you're getting rescue at sea and it is based on negligence?
Caller, can you slow down or try and speak a little clearer? We didn't get that.
I say, what is the terms and condition on like rescuing at sea and the rescue is based on negligence, like it is almost like a deliberate thing.
Okay, you run out of fuel or something of that sort.
Right, some of your own can be because of your own negligence.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there any charge or anything?
Oh,
right.
good question.
Negligence, and that is one of the things. Thank you very much, caller. That is one of the things that the government of St. Lucia need to explain, especially to the fishers. Whereas a merchant ship in distress, running out of fuel and all of that negligence, carry what you call a fee, a salvage fee or towing fee. The fishers are exempted from that. The government absorbs all the finance.
That cost. Wow.
So if we spend $10,000 going out there, $20,000 in
you
fuel
alone.
and other amenities, the government of St. Lucia, absorb that. So we just have to get them, bring them back, make sure. And registration and license is only $5.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting.
Right. So negligence on the part of our fishers, the government of St. Lucia is doing everything. Even when the French fly, it come at a cost. The US fly, it come at a cost. But then it is not passed on to the local fishers. All we have to look at is adherence. And I noticed the time fly in many seconds. So probably with my boss permission, we might be able to come to another show and do some
okay, we got 3 minutes. Let me just take a statement from the WhatsApp texting platform. Very interesting program. Learning quite a lot. The PMU is certainly a very important unit in the RSLPF. Congratulations to Inspector Frederick, a dedicated, committed, and hardworking officer, one who is all about quality, effectiveness, and efficiency in the executions of his duties. Proud of the inspector. The person says he knows who's very well. He knows who. So they don't want to
I wonder.
Identify who they are.
Maybe my daughter?
Yeah, I don't know. We have a call on the line, no?
Or maybe my son.
Okay, so Inspector, we're wrapping up. Let us just, your very final statement. So,
okay, so your question during the break is whether or not we would accept another invitation here. Absolutely. Absolutely. If we have to do it 5, 6, 10 times, we will. Because at the end of the day, we want persons to understand it's not about me. I could not have been there without the support of my family, without the support of the persons I am working with at this time, without the support of the Commissioner of Police. I think I was not just plucked out of a bag and then sent in there. My character is one, as I said, calm and collective. I listen to everybody. And I'll be frank with you, I hate nobody.
Yes.
I don't have time for that. I like positivity, and even when you are negative, I still remember what Inspector George said to me in 1990, check yourself. I still remember what the Rear Admiral said to me at Coast Guard Academy, calm is collective. So you process it, you remain calm. There are things that you may say to somebody you'll never be able to retract.
Yes.
So I remain calm, I remain collective. Even with my children, when they speak, I learn from my father, you incline your ears to hear, you process it, and then you reply. So in doing so, over the years, I've learned that you produce, and for me, it is a cause worth dying for. I have dedicated my 31 years to that. I believe in the Marine unit. I want to breathe, I want to live, I want to, just absorb it because I understand the importance of it. And also the staff, as I said, the admin staff is absolutely wonderful. Sergeant Bailey, Corporal Charles, the engineering sergeant, Sergeant Mason, Chico, and the other guys, they are absolutely wonderful. They keep these engines running, but sometimes the engine, we don't break them, they break down. Sergeant Felix Antoine in the electrical and electronics department. We have Miss Edwin, which our broker, also Sergeant Henry. We also have Dillis. We also have many other persons within the department. Sergeant Ogis, who's done a wonderful job in terms of the South, but he reports to me, and then I report to the commissioner. So we have a well-oiled machinery. Yes, we have our challenges with persons we have to tweak from here to there in between, but we are always grateful for the fact that we are able to deliver the goods that is necessary and remain calm within the worst of times. So hurricane, when everybody else will be thinking what's next, our mind is programmed country first, then our family.
Thank you so much, Inspector Frederick, officer in charge of the Police Marine Unit, for being here, the commander. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Great job.
Thank you.
Yes, so people, those of you who called, those of you who contributed to the Facebook chat, the WhatsApp texting platform, sorry I couldn't get all of your questions, but there's no doubt, like the inspector said, he will be here another day. As you know, if it's a Tuesday, it's Police Insight live on Choice TV, the right choice. See you next Tuesday. Stay safe. Good night.
Hi, my name is Amelia.
And I am Nathan.
We watch tutorials as part of our daily routine. I enjoy the math lessons taught by Mr. Troy, and when